There are many misconceptions about PCOS. Things like infertility, that we are lazy and we are just depressed human beings. We don't want to do anything to change our lives. Hello, my name is Openda Nice Barasa. I've been doing the PCOS series and we are getting towards the end of this particular series, just sharing my reflections about generally what people don't see beyond the surface level. If you are new here, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like, and leave a comment down below if you do end up enjoying this video. For people who have no idea what PCOS is, they could think, oh, this person just doesn't eat healthy, they don't take care of their bodies, or you're always anxious, you're always panicking, you're seeking attention, you're always tired, so you're lazy. And it's just one of those things that is very difficult to debunk, especially when somebody is not willing to listen. And today I just want to mention some of those things that people really don't understand when it comes to PCOS. PCOS and weight gain is not just about eating less. It has a lot more to do with your hormones than your food. You could do all the right things, eat healthy, but for some reason, weight loss will be very difficult. I think culturally, and this pertains to people who come from very cultured homes or backgrounds. For context, I'm Kenyan. In Africa, PCOS is not something that is known as much right now. So many women struggle with PCOS and reproductive health issues like endometriosis and fibroids and name it, cysts. So there's a lot of information going around, but still I think PCOS has been overlooked, because when you think of cases like fibroids, ovarian cysts, there are situations where people have gone to hospital, had surgeries, so sometimes they're taken a lot more seriously. But something like PCOS, which sometimes the symptoms are seen as normal, or they could fit any other condition, because acne could just be you have adult acne, weight gain could just be, oh, you're overeating, they can easily be placed in any other thing and they just appear to be normal on the surface level. People don't really take account for the psychological, emotional trauma that PCOS causes. So you realize that in many cultures it is overlooked. Many people don't even know about it. I think I've shared my story about the first time I started suspecting that I had PCOS, and I shared with my family, specifically my mom. At first, she was reluctant because the word polycystic ovarian syndrome carries so much weight, and in African cultures sometimes we tend to judge things by how they sound, even when we don't know the meanings. Like, oh, she has cancer. When you hear cancer, it's very heavy. When you hear polycystic ovarian syndrome, it's heavy. So people don't care so much to do their research. They just think of it as a huge disease. And because of that mindset, I was made to look like I'm just attention seeking, I'm overthinking, I'm trying to put diseases on myself that I don't have. But I think over time, when she started to do her research and she realized that, oh, this girl only has one period for the entire year, she started getting concerned. And I think now she has been more understanding, more accepting. And I think she really sympathized with me, especially when it comes to the infertility story. She was really worried, and she always heard me say that, hey, I don't think I'll ever get kids. And I saw how she really tried to support me emotionally now that she had information. So because of lack of information and just ignorance in general, PCOS as a condition has been overlooked, and many a times women with PCOS end up being dismissed even by doctors. I think many people don't understand the emotional side of PCOS as well. I think in my previous episode, I dug deeper into the emotional, the psychological things, and just how PCOS frustrated me. And it's because even for the longest time, I didn't know fatigue was a symptom of PCOS. And it's not just normal fatigue, it was extreme fatigue. I wake up tired, I go to bed tired. I was tired 24/7. Mental health, who knew? I didn't know. Depression, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, I didn't know. And funny enough, with PCOS, I realized the more my symptoms progressed, the more the signs got worse. So for example, the initial symptoms of PCOS that I had was just irregular periods and acne, right? But the more the symptoms appeared, like weight gain and fatigue and depression, the more my symptoms got worse. So the period continued to disappear. The acne worsened. I started experiencing like tiny bits of facial hair here and there. So because we get dismissed a lot, sometimes we even end up not thinking of our symptoms as a big deal, or we don't even care to share them because it feels like, oh, they might never understand, maybe I'm just the one who's overthinking, and that's not the case. Sometimes I just think about the times whereby I kept going to doctors saying I think I have PCOS. I think they never even paid attention, or even after the diagnosis, all I was told is lose weight. Yeah. Another misconception about women with PCOS is that they are not feminine enough. And maybe this is something that I should have reflected on the last episode, but I'm planning a podcast episode to just talk about not feeling feminine enough. Because for me, the first description I was given of PCOS was, when you have PCOS, it means your male hormones are slightly higher than normal, or your hormones are not just balanced in general, but specifically the male hormones, because everyone does have both male and female hormones. But if one is in excess, it creates an imbalance. So because of that, I don't know whether it's just psychologically or internally, it made me feel not feminine enough. But the truth is, women with PCOS are just women. And having irregular periods doesn't make you less feminine. Having facial hair doesn't make you less feminine, because we do have women who just have facial hair and it's genetic and it has nothing to do with PCOS. Another thing that I think people get wrong is having irregular periods does not equal PCOS. Yeah. You can have irregular periods, but you don't have PCOS. It's just a sign and symptom of PCOS, but it doesn't equal PCOS. You could have facial hair, but it doesn't mean that you have PCOS. You could have acne, it doesn't mean you have PCOS, and vice versa. You could have PCOS, but you have regular periods. You could have PCOS, but you don't have acne. And I think I've seen people with PCOS who don't have physical symptoms, only like the maybe psychological ones, but there are people who don't have acne, they don't struggle with weight gain. For example, I gave Maraji, the Nigerian creator, I think she has really good skin. I don't know if her periods are regular, I don't know, but from the physical, if I look at her, if I was to meet her for the first time, I wouldn't think that she has PCOS. And maybe she has just taken care of herself well, but without knowing her, I couldn't tell that she has PCOS. So sometimes people think, oh, just because you don't have regular periods, you have PCOS. No, it's not true. The last misconception that I would like to debunk is infertility. Now, the term infertility in the medical field is usually used broadly. For example, a woman who is considered fertile can still have a season of infertility. There's so many women with PCOS who have kids. Yes, it could be a bit of a struggle. There are some who have struggled. There are some who didn't. I didn't struggle. In fact, the one thing, and this is such a season of ignorance for me, I had gotten to a point whereby I had come to terms with never having kids, that I never took care of my sexual health because I was like, but I can never get pregnant. Yeah, and that's how I ended up pregnant, by the way, because of that mindset. Like, I can never get pregnant. Like, you can see how deep it is for somebody to just internalize they can never get pregnant, right? And when now you finally get pregnant, you're like, what? I thought I could never get pregnant. And that's because of just the misconception of women of PCOS are infertile, which is not true. In my experience, once you start working and improving your symptoms, things just get better. Like, even now, I don't feel as strongly towards my symptoms as I used in the past. I don't think about the foods that I eat as much as I used to. But if you just want to make your life simple, I would say block all those PCOS content creators. I'm not even joking. Of course, there are some who are helpful, but when I say block them, there are people who just come to the internet and say, if you have PCOS, don't eat ABC, don't eat this, don't eat that. And I lost weight without cutting any food out. Yeah. I didn't stop eating anything. And mind you, the only thing that I didn't consume as much was sugar. And it's not because, oh, I used to eat it and then stopped. No, I don't just like sugary things. So I never even have sugar in my house. That's one thing. So when I started my weight loss journey, I wasn't saying like cut off sugar. If I wanted to take a soda, I would. If I wanted to eat white bread, I would. I just went with portion control, switching unhealthy foods for healthy foods. If it's bread, brown bread, not white bread. Simple. If it's rice, instead of a full plate of rice, just a tiny bit of rice. I never had to cut out any food. So for me, I would advise anyone to not just sit blindly and listen to what coaches say. Try out and see what works for you. If it's birth control, well and good. For me, it didn't work. It made me gain weight. It just worsened my symptoms. So I went the natural way, just lifestyle changes. And that has worked for me and many other women out there. I hope this video was helpful. Please leave some of your misconceptions and things that you think many people don't understand about PCOS. See you again next time. Subscribe to the channel. Bye.